All right, so what is it? Oh, God. Sunday, April 17th. Day 3 of 30. Okay, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. All right, let's go Microsoft 365 versus Google Workspace. And this is where like everybody that doesn't know who I am is gonna jump in this feed like a motherfucker. Because this is where it goes. This is where it goes. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. Huge deal. You, as a business owner, get to make a decision that is probably going to be the rest of that business's life decision. That's why I said they're probably going to jump in the feed, man, because it's a big deal. Cloud. You got your, remember, we talked about, let me just see here. We talked about registrar, so that's like, say, $30 a month. $30 a year for your domain ownership. Then you got your DNS, which could be a couple, like $10 a month or some sort of annual fee to run the DNS through a sophisticated, secure DNS web platform, that you don't have to worry about security for the most part. That's why you chose that direction. And then, so that's like these fees, these cloud fees. You're renting the cloud forever. Forever, never, 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 until you're dead. And probably until everybody's dead at this point, because the model works so much better than it used to. So I don't see where it's going to go next, but for now, crypto probably, but whatever, that's still some sort of currency. All right, I digress. The power that both Microsoft and Google have over you it's incredible as a business. Now, using and wielding the powers that they both have, they are different powers, okay? And it's different per industry. So what I'm gonna say is one of the things that we do over here at the Automated Method is we help you with this decision in business construction, or we may have to deal with what you've made a decision with in the past because it's so fucking hard to change. And everybody out there that knows what I'm talking about doesn't mean that you're in IT or understand IT or maybe you've been in that conversation or in that argument or debate before. Changing your core from Google to Microsoft is a pain in the ass, okay? Or vice versa, from Microsoft to Google, pain in the ass, pain in everybody's ass, pain in all of the asses, every ass pain, okay? So that's why this decision is really important. Certain industries play better with Microsoft as the core, and certain industries play better with Google at the core. And I'm not going to say out loud right now which one's in which. I'm just going to say there are ones that are better for Microsoft, and there's industries that are better with Google. I'm going to say it. Usually, a lot of dated traditional businesses that have been going digital but in a forced way. That's Microsoft. A lot of older employees, Microsoft. A lot of older team, Microsoft. A lot of Windows only stuff, Microsoft, because it's Microsoft Windows. That's just how it works. Now that's just a common vein, a common thread, a common whatever when it comes to finding out your core. Okay, a lot of Mac, Apple, a lot of early adopters, a new startup, Google. A lot of it's not the same anymore, but it was kind of that growing up with the cloud. So all I'm saying is that there are certain businesses that I know as an experienced designer, I'm not going to influence them to Google. They're going to stay with Microsoft 365. We'll add Google. We'll do some hybrid stuff if they really want to, but they're going to stay core Microsoft because it just makes more sense. Okay, it just does. Then again, if they have a Google-centric type of mentality and the business does work that way, then they may not even need Microsoft 365 at all. See? So here's the thing. When you rent the cloud per user, what you're doing is you're creating profiles, okay? So all of the profiles that you're going to be creating, right? And so I'm going to erase these two. So we got Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, okay? That's who you're going to be paying per user forever, okay? So you have your @ and you have your domain, right? And you have .com. Now, whatever is in the front here, that is your user profile, or the function, we'll call it, because when you're working with automatic technologies that the automated method recommends, email addresses are no longer email addresses. They could be triggers or functions, meaning there's no human at all, but they may not even have a human name. They may just have like an area of your business, or a function trigger, or maybe some sort of cool word. Doesn't matter, but you gotta understand where I'm coming from, that is what you're gonna be paying for times how many users for the rest of your goddamn life, okay? Now, if you choose a Microsoft 365 centric business, core, model, domain, point that domain to Microsoft 365. Well, the way it works is obviously Office.com, Office 365, all their products come in aligned with it, in it, automatically. You pay in different tiers based on different packages of products, but for the most part, the average cost is like $15 Canadian or something like that for everything, whether it be the web version or the downloadable installed version of the applications that we in the IT community and the history that I have hate so much, or love. I hate, but that's another conversation to be had. Because web-based stuff is awesome. I mean, you can download all of the applications in that pack on your phone as well, but what's the point of paying for two, right? So that's why I'm saying figure out your core tenancy, your core. I've heard it many different ways. Some people say when I say core tenancy, they're like, it's not said it that, you don't say it that way. I'm like, okay, tenant, I've just heard it so many different ways. I've made up my own That's it, core tenant, core tenancy, whatever. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Anyway, with Google, it's the same cost. There's different size restrictions in terms of how much space per user, and then Google for Teams, like your team drive, etc. All I'm saying is they have parallels and differences. Microsoft seems to have its handle on if you need Word, Excel, and Outlook. Like if you really need them, if you need them. Like if you can't live without Outlook, if you can't live without Excel. Now let's hear. This is what I'd like to say right here. Spreadsheet and word processor, okay? Microsoft Word is a word processor. Google has Docs. Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, Microsoft's product, Google's product, Gmail, Outlook.com, Outlook's interface. Gmail doesn't have a client, right? Gmail has been gmail.com, the web interface, URL forever. They don't have a client. You can use Outlook or Apple Mail as the client, or other clients as the client, but it's just so you know, that is how it's always been. There is no Google Sheets application to download. It's web-based. Sure, there are people that probably built some of these things, but not Google. Because Google believes in this entire real cloud web stuff. Microsoft knows that a lot of their clientele still want to double-click, open up application side of things, okay? So that's it. Now, remember, on the phone, it doesn't matter. They're all the same because they're all push-button native applications. So it doesn't matter in Google on the phone or Microsoft on the phone unless you're diving deep into the functions of, say, Excel, and then it doesn't work in Sheets. There are workarounds. And what I mean by Google Sheets is Google Spreadsheet, which is the Microsoft Excel competitor, sort of. They're both spreadsheets, okay? For the most part, if you actually know what a spreadsheet does, you can probably do the same things in Google Sheets as you can in Microsoft Excel. Excel, of course, does have its own stuff, but that's because you're probably stuck in Microsoft Excel. So let's try to keep you away from thinking of only being stuck in Microsoft Excel. Think in spreadsheets, and then we can exit you into like databases. Oh my God! Did someone say database, which is like what everybody uses Microsoft Excel as, sort of? Microsoft Excel is used way too much incorrectly. That's why part of the reason why I'm doing this is because in terms of business construction, I understand, but now that you know how we build up to it, maybe you can make that decision now where you're like, okay, the automated method, okay, Jason, this is my industry. Should I go Google or should I go Microsoft? That's an awesome question. Because now you may be 5149, but guess what? You could be going so much further and more advanced by in taking away the hindrance that Microsoft may have held on, like those, I don't know, talons that Microsoft has on you. You might be able to pull those off and move into a different ecosystem, right? This is the time to think about that stuff. But like I said, maybe you're Microsoft 365, whatever. We've gotten past that right now. You're going to be paying per user, per account for the rest of your life on your credit card until you're dead, whether it be Microsoft or Google Works, Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, okay? Now let's go a little bit further. So now you've made that decision, okay? What would be a good way of keeping this moving? Let's see what the automated method has done. So the automated method bought the domain and Namecheap, and the automated method in terms of its tendency is with Google Workspace. So we're Google people over here. Why? Well, how many times do I have to throw Microsoft under the bus? For me to get away from it, it was like new. So building a new business, having this new wireframe, that's one of the reasons why I went Google. Is I was like, I want to do it the way that I've seen startups do it. So that's when obviously it took me until 2010 to buy an Apple computer, okay? And it was only because I was so used to the Windows environment for network administration, and I made a great decision. And so that's kind of how it all went to the next. It was that's where Google came in, that's where the iPhone came in, etc. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying my journey, our journey here. So now that we use Google, you can see a lot of the ways that things are gonna move, but they're the same with Microsoft 365, okay? That's all. And now that you have this kind of wireframe being built, the next step of the way is to decide on your platforms, okay? All of the platforms, we're gonna make an app stack, right? We're gonna choose a nucleus, and we're gonna model the whole business. That'll be in a different day. And I'm going to summarize all this by saying that if you were to listen to these or watch these videos, you'll get somewhere. But the thing is, we're going to get to what I would consider the largest roadblock period, other than some of the knowledge, right? Some of the knowledge is in the operations is, I'm not going to dive in completely. I'm just going to say and whiteboard a few things. And then, maybe post a few things here and there inside some copy. But I'm saying that the majority of the time, and I'll just say it right now, I still got a few minutes, you're not going to do it. Okay? That's what happens. When you design and you have an idea and you want to put a business into motion, there's going to be certain things you will do. And the majority of those things are the easy, fast things that there's some creative energy to it, like picking the .com, or finally registering a LinkedIn account. But making the LinkedIn account look good? No. Making the copy in the LinkedIn sound like you know what you're talking about, and you spend maybe a whole day or two, or maybe a few days on this aesthetic form? No, none of that's going to happen. It does for certain people. Those are the people that enjoy that stuff. But a lot of people are just business. They're just have business in mind, not all this creative stuff. And it's just you'll get hung up. You'll think you can do it all in one night and you'll get hung up and you'll stop. That's what happens. And you won't revisit it. So that's why I'm telling you all this this way, is because I know that even if you still need a consultant's help. You still need some white glove supervised, help moving you into remote departments, which is where we're going to get. Okay?